So today I thought I might have a little chat about freedom of speech in China, because people think there isn't any, and they're wrong, there is. I'm also testing out a new camera, new microphone, and a new bracket on my bike, so this may or may not be a bit wobbly, but it does have a gimbaled camera, so it should be okay. Let's see. Freedom of speech. In China, you have the right to complain, you have the right to criticize, you do have the right to take part in governance. You have a consultative governance in China where almost every act that gets passed, all pieces of legislation, are run past the community before they ever get to the two-party sessions or the two sessions. So if it's run past the community and everybody knows what's going on, that's a form of democracy. Of course, I don't like the word democracy anymore. I like the word consultative governance. That's my word for it. Now, what happens here? You don't have the right to insult someone. It's actually against the law in China to insult someone. Is that taking away your freedom of speech? Some Americans say yes it is, some Brits say yes it is, but the fact is, you have laws about libel, slander, you have laws about hate speech, and what China has done is pretty much taken all those laws and made them into one. You don't insult anyone, you don't tell lies about people, and if you do, you get into trouble. First step is that they will delete you. Your comments, if you're on social media, they will delete your comments. That's just the first step. Second step is they might give you a warning. So what does that entail? You're called to the police station to, inverted commas, drink tea. And that's a warning. You're given a caution. Now the most famous, why is he there? The most famous of those in recent times was Dr. Li Wenliang. Dr. Li was called in because he said something on social media which was not acceptable. He was given a warning. He was asked not to spread rumors, which at that time, before the Chinese equivalent of the CDC or the World Health Organization had recognized there was a serious problem, at that time it was just a rumor, and he was spreading rumors. Now you could argue that he was right and he should have been treated differently, and that's exactly what China has done. They argued that he was right and should have been treated differently, and so they've changed the law. Now there is a law that says if you have an issue like this, here are the steps and the processes to take it. And if your bosses don't do what they should do, they'll be in trouble, not you. So now we have whistleblower laws in China. They started in December last year and they are in force now. So let's hope Dr. Li's situation never happens again. And that's an interesting thing, because when people say you can't criticize the government, they're not really remembering how many people did criticize the government and how Dr. Li went from being an unknown ophthalmologist, an optical surgeon, to becoming a martyr and a very, very famous guy. That happened because millions of people outpoured their grief and their criticisms on the government and told the government what they thought. Not bad. That's what consultative governance does. People tell the government what they think. The next thing is you can't insult. So everyone says Winnie the Pooh's banned in China. No, it's not. Go to China Disney, go online, go to Google and Google Shanghai Disney. You'll find there is a Winnie the Pooh ride there. Disney would have been closed down if Winnie the Pooh was illegal. What is not even illegal, but is frowned upon, is comparing a cartoon character with the president. They don't even allow you to do it for Biden. And let's face it, Biden could be the subject of an awful lot of ridicule. He's a geriatric, very old man who can't even remember who his first lady is. Just the other day he thought Kamala Harris was his first lady. A couple of weeks ago he thought that Russia had invaded Russia. You know, he's really a subject of ridicule. And the Americans can ridicule him. Chinese won't. Pick up a Chinese newspaper, you will see factual reporting, but you won't see ridicule even of Donald Trump, who was an object of ridicule himself, or Joe Biden. You won't see it. You'll see anger, you'll see complaints about these people, but you won't see ridicule, you won't see insults, and you won't see disrespect. That's because they're Chinese, and Chinese people are respectful. So, when you say Chinese people have no freedom of speech, Chinese people have no democracy, the simple truth is they do. They have quite a lot of freedom of speech. What they can't do is insult. What they can't do is incite. They're not allowed to start organizing violent protests, but they are allowed to organize protests. They have a right to protest if there's something wrong. They have a right to complain to the government. They have a telephone number that you can. Any city, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dial that number and you'll be into the city's hotline for complaints and suggestions. If you have suggestions, you can add it. Consultative democracy. If you have complaints, something will be done. There's always some work going on somewhere. So I'm going to do something I haven't done before. Let's see what's down this lane. First time I've been down this lane. So the consultative process is actually quite wide. The idea that you cannot insult someone is completely wrong, in that you can complain, you can criticize, but you cannot be disrespectful when you're doing so. So that's why people say Xi Jinping has banned Winnie the Pooh. I'm not sure what else is down here. Let's have a look. Yeah, I don't usually come this side of the road. I live just a kilometre or so behind where we are now. Some beautiful old architecture. And lovely trees. This is a pretty old part of China. So that was my little short discussion on freedom of speech, on democracy, and on what you can and can't do inside of China. Certainly you have a lot of freedom here. Personal freedom is amazing. You can eat and drink in the street anywhere you want. You can start businesses very easily. There's a lot of things that are very good about China. And there's also some things that are very bad. One of them is the condition of this road. I don't know if you can see in the distance, we have a Zhongshan Eye, they call that. Ma Ting Long is its name in Chinese. Oh, I know where I am now. And I'm going to start to head home. It'll only take me a couple of minutes to get there. If you have any questions and you want to raise some issues, put a note in the comments, please. If you think I'm telling a lie, then ask me to prove it. I'll show you the Constitution of China, I'll show you the information that I have and where it comes from. Obviously I can't do that when I'm riding my bike, but the information is available. And despite what people say about Chinese police, they're not going to come running down to tell me they disagree with me. and then lock me up. I can say pretty much anything I want as long as I don't do one of two things. Incite people into protests. I can't do that. You can incite people to protest. You can encourage people to protest. But what you can't do is create violent protests. All you do is say, we have a problem here, we need to go and tell the government. Who wants to come with me? That's okay, you can do that. No problem at all. The other thing you can't do is you can't insult people. You can't tell someone they look like a fat pig or something like that. Everyone's entitled to their respect, and the government actually gives it here in a legislation. So, you can't insult, you can't incite. That's the two things you can't do. You can complain, you can criticize. You just have processes in which to complain and criticize through. If you do it in a rude way, if you do it in an improper way, if you do it in a disrespectful way, then you will get deleted, you might get a warning. You don't get slammed in the jails. That's not true at all. And if anyone wants to say that that's true, please give me an example. And I know there are a couple of examples of what they call citizen journalists, which I guess you could call me as well, since I'm a citizen of one country, but I'm a resident journalist. And I can write pretty much what I want. But in a country, I don't know if you've noticed this, yeah, there's some old buildings, there's some dirty places, but there's no graffiti. I bet you haven't seen a burnt out car. Speed hump there, there's another one coming. You haven't seen any graffiti, you haven't seen a burnt out car. What you will see from time to time is that white thing on the garage door there, which is the former owner's telephone number. If you want to park here, call me. Something like that. The new owner has scrubbed it out, but there's no graffiti here. There's nothing here that says there is a crime situation. It's a very, very safe environment. And on that happy note, I'm going to leave you here and sign off. See you next time. Hello.